How Much Does It Cost to Raise a Child in America? By Ginger Gamlin and Hannah Caradillo. Having a child or two is an integral part of the American dream. It is necessary to keep our population steady. It is often something people look forward to. However, when looking forward to having children, many people fail to realize the price tag. Currently, it is estimated that to raise a child from birth through age 18, it will cost a middle-class American family around $250,000. That is $250,000, and it does not include the cost of prenatal care or college. This is a large sum of money which may leave many Americans rethinking the amount of children they want to have or pondering whether it is even worth the cost. When taking a closer look at the aspects of income, geography, and race, one is able to get a better idea of how much they are truly spending on raising a child.
Many aspects of life today differ from how they were in past years. Our parents' experiences differ vastly from our own, and of course, our grandparents' experiences differ even further. Among the many differences between the past and the present, we can include the cost of raising a child. Comparing the past and the present day, we're able to notice significant differences between what it used to cost to raise a child and what it costs today. Examining this diagram, we notice that two pie charts are depicted, each of which represents a different year in history. The first represents 1960 and the second represents 2013. We then notice that each pie chart has listed below it a total cost, in dollars, of raising a child. It is clear that a difference in the total cost of raising a child exists between 1960 and 2013. It is important to note, though, that the total dollar values displayed for each year are in terms of 2013 currency. In 1960, we can see that the total cost of raising a child amounted to about $199,000. On the contrary, in 2013, the total cost of raising a child equaled about $245,000. Overall, when comparing the 2 points in time, the total cost of raising a child increased by about $46,000, an increase of about 24%. Upon further observation of this diagram, we can see that two components of the total cost changed rather dramatically from 1960 to 2013. The first of these two components is the combination of childcare and education costs. When comparing the 2 years, we can see that in 1960, this cost only accounted for 2% of the total cost to raise a child, amounting to about $4,000. In 2013, however, this cost accounted for 18% of the total cost to raise a child, at about $44,000, an increase of about 16%. The second of the two components is the cost of health care. In 1960, this cost accounted for 4% of the total cost needed to raise a child, amounting to about $8,000. In 2013, though, this cost accounted for 8% of the total cost to raise a child, at about $20,000, an increase of about 4%.
There are many different classes within the American society. These classes are in large part defined by the amount of income one makes. For the sake of comparison, we will focus on the upper class, the middle class, those with low income, and those living in poverty. There are not only differences between the incomes of these groups, but also differences in where their money goes. Due to many factors, such as having only one income and only one adult to juggle responsibilities, low-income single parents spend less on their children when compared to low-income two-parent households. However, this is not a large difference. Low-income single parents spend about $164,000 on raising a child compared to $176,000 for a low-income two-parent household. Comparing these numbers back to the average $250,000, it is evident that a large group of low-income families will be spending significantly less than the estimated cost. In addition, more than 60% of all children in poverty are being raised by single parents, which helps to explain the reason for why these parents are spending less on their children. Those families living in poverty have extremely low to no income. For a single-parent household with 2 children in the state of Rhode Island, a family can be considered in poverty if they have an income of no more than $15,336 per year. This will qualify the family for full benefits from temporary assistance for needy families, equaling up to $6,648 per year. This would leave the family with an income of $21,984. We must keep in mind that TANF will only support a family for a maximum of 60 months, whereas it takes 216 months to raise a child. Therefore, single-parent households living in poverty will certainly be spending less on their children. Two-parent households living in poverty in Rhode Island also come up short on being able to raise a child at the price ticket that was being advertised. These families have an income of no more than $17,256 per year and are able to receive no more than $7,608 per year from TANF, leaving these four people with just $24,864 per year to live off of. Taking a look at different income groups allows us to see that much more variation in the cost of raising a child does in fact exist. In stark contrast to those living in poverty, we have the upper class. These high-income families spend over twice as much as low-income families do on their children. This difference is most visible when the children reach the teenage years. When the children reach these teenage years, high-income families are spending money faster than any other group. It is more important to look at where this greater sum of money is going. High-income families devote 23% of their total cost of child rearing to childcare and education, compared to low-income families who only devote 14% of their already smaller total.
Know the differences regarding income play a role in how much money is spent on raising a child, we can connect it even further to differences in geographic location. As what you spend depends on how much you make, it is also dependent on where you live. This diagram portrays family expenditures on a child by region and by the age of the child over time in 2013. As we can see by observing the diagram, several different areas of the country are listed, including the urban Northeast, urban West, urban Midwest, urban South, and rural areas. When reading the diagram, we can see that it costs more money to raise a child as he or she ages. Additionally, we can see that those people living in urban areas of the country spend more money on their children overall than do those people living in rural areas. Even within the urban areas of the country, we can see differences in how much money is spent on a child. Now, let's take a closer look at the average annual cost of full-time infant care in the United States between 2009 and 2013. This map portrays differences in full-time infant care cost among the states within the country, with the lightest color representing a cost below $6,000 and the darkest color representing a cost at or above $15,000. When thinking about the differences in money spent on raising a child based on area of the country, we can see that greater costs of full-time infant care correspond with the areas of the country that spend more money on raising a child. The urban areas of the country in the Northeast, West, Midwest, and South all portray darker colors than the rural areas of the country. Once again, it remains clear that how you spend depends on where you live. The final aspect that we will consider in the cost of raising a child is racial differences. Differences in race tie into both income and geographical differences, clearly relating all of the topics to one another. When looking at this diagram portraying the real median household income by race and Hispanic origin between 1967 and 2012 in the United States, we're able to observe several things. First, it remains clear that since 1967, the overall income for all racial groups has increased. We are also able to take note of the fact that currently, Asians earn the highest income at an average of about $69,000 per year. White non-Hispanics earn the next highest income, followed by Hispanics and lastly Blacks. Incomes for Asians and white non-Hispanics fall above the average income combined for all races, whereas incomes for Hispanics and Blacks fall below that average amount. Additionally, the rates at which these incomes increased also remain disproportionate. According to this graph, since 1972, the median income for white non-Hispanics has increased by a total of about $7,000, whereas the median income for Blacks has only increased by an estimated total of $3,000 in the same span of time, a $4,000 difference. We established a clear correlation between where one resides geographically and how much one will spend on raising a child. An additional connection can be made when considering the racial concentrations within the United States. In the urban Northeast, which has been deemed the most expensive area of the country to raise a child, the map portrays residents of primarily white, non-Hispanic individuals. By contrast, in the southern area of the country, where less money is spent on raising a child, there is a greater representation of Blacks. It remains clear, based on the graph and this map, that race, income, and geography all significantly connect with one another. Based on all of the information presented, it is apparent that several factors play a role in determining the cost of raising a child. Geography, income, and race each provide a unique contribution to the amount of money spent on raising a child. Furthermore, due to the role that these three aspects play, we are able to see that various deviations from the average cost of $250,000 exist, and that this average cost does not remain relative to all individuals within our country. As the cost of raising a child has increased in the past, we can expect it to continue to increase and be altered over time. Ultimately, the cost of raising a child is not as straightforward as a $250,000 price tag. It involves much, much more.